Hi guys. So today we're going to talk about shadow work. I've had people ask about things like where they say they want to drop some of the fear from organized religion and when they go into this, and how do they drop the fear of studying the occult, even if they want to do Wicca and right-hand path kind of stuff. They still want to know, how do I drop the fear of this kind of stuff, and obviously kinds of tips and advice. And there's a lot of them. I've already talked about the importance of grounding, but what I'd also like to talk about is shadow work. You really like doing ritual magic, going ghost hunting, looking for aliens, working with these spirits, or even, honestly, even if you just have these latent abilities or you're aware of them, you haven't done some shadow work, then you're going to end up projecting that into all of your rituals and into really all that you do, because there's not a whole bunch of separation between the mundane and ritual anyway. The mundane is our familiar rituals, and it just doesn't seem that great or important, but it's still a ritual. So shadow work is the subconscious, basically the subconscious mind. And this is, our pal Carl Jung was talking about this, and I'll talk about probably just most of his other ideas, but I thought this almost needed its own video. So, we all have a shadow. We cast a shadow. Everything has a shadow. There's always night. And that means that consciousness is complex. You think that you are a good person or you have it all together, but really that's not true completely. Underneath that is, your childhood, mixed emotions that you feel if you have an inconsistent worldview. If you have some kinds of mental problems that you choose to not address, that's a really big shadow issue. And I'm obviously a recovering alcoholic, and I always will be, even though it's been years. That's still my shadow, and I understand it as such and babysit that lower conscious part of myself in that way. But these are things about yourself that you reject, that you don't examine. So it's weird as well, like when you see people and we all do it, and you say they're trashy, they're doing this wrong, I don't like them, I met somebody and I don't like them, I don't know why I don't like them, and you don't really have a reason. That person represents some kind of really deep rejected aspect of your own mind. Now that seems kind of not true on the surface, but it is. Maybe when you were younger, you did things that you think were trashy, or you used to eat too much fast food, and then you judge all the people who line up every day for 3 meals a day. that's still part of you. It is part of your mind. You and I are really not that separate. And the subconscious parts of our mind, it doesn't understand the difference so much between you and I. The shadow work, it speaks to the part of your mind where when you watch a car accident on television, on the news, this is the part of your mind that doesn't understand that it's not really happening. Now, your higher parts of your conscious mind do understand that this is television and it didn't happen to your family, it didn't happen to you. But it's not a question of ethics. It's that a different part of your mind doesn't understand that it's not real. Because it is real. It's an idea. And because it's an idea, it's therefore real, and it is affecting you. So that's your shadow, okay? I'm just trying to throw out my descriptions of a shadow. But it's kind of all that premise of it functions, as instincts, but it also doesn't understand. It doesn't understand language, and it certainly doesn't understand how to fix this. So this is what you do when you do shadow work. So your problems that you don't want to face. I mean, another one is, as I've talked about before with chaos magic, belief is a tool. So if you believe that you're not really good enough, but you say, well, the fact that I think that I'm ugly or whatever, that doesn't really matter. I'm going to shove it down, and it's not going to affect me. Then 3 years later, you end up drinking, or you become a sex worker because you think that that's all that there is to you, okay? So you were wrong about how you think that your shadow does not affect you. Left unchecked, the shadow will make all your major decisions for you, and it will ruin your life. But it is also a place where untapped strength and courage in the personality is. The instinct and the will to survive are deep down, and it's speaking to you. When you're living your life a wrong way, or you're in a bad relationship and things are not right for you, it presents itself to you in dreams and constant thoughts, because it's trying to get you to change. And it's doing that by forcing you to interact with what you don't want to. And if you don't consciously, it's like forcing you to consciously do that. And consciousness rises. It rises out of the earth. It rises from the grave, essentially, through genetics. We are recreated, creations of our ancestors, and we have similar thought processes and thinking. Consciousness rises. The genie of the Ars Goetia, imprisoned in a brass vessel, that consciousness rises because 2,000 years later, people want to know all about them now. So it can be pushed down in a way, but consciousness doesn't go away. It always exists, and it always rises to the surface. So your problems rise. And anger, and when people get angry, that's what anger really is the frustration of these unresolved issues. So the best thing to do, my advice part of this, is start by observing yourself for like a week, whatever. And say, so I'm angry when this happens. I think this about these people. Notice who you're gossiping about. Notice, because we all do it, But if you're doing it too much, there's a problem. And pay attention to who you really judge, because that's a part of yourself that you should accept in some way. I'm not saying that you are the same person who is eating whatever McDonald's 3 times a day or belongs on the Jerry Springer show, but acknowledge that sometimes you don't eat completely healthy, or acknowledge that, you know, you've participated in some way in the trash of the world. And it'll get a little better for you. You see people as the humans that we all really are. So the observation of your life in general. What makes you sad? When you get sad, what events precipitate such things? What people are involved in making you feel that type of way? By just a good week of observation, then you can really have a place to get started. And you know, if you're an addict, or you do have let's say you have a borderline personality disorder, we'll use that. It's not, you know, well, I'm just going to have it be untreated and everybody else around me can suffer. That's not right. Take responsibility. If you really think you have a mental problem, go and figure out solutions. Be creative if you need to. You know, I understand that these types of medications, and I've even been on some myself, they have some severe side effects that aren't that great. So, but there's other options out there, like, you know, all the basic ones, meditation and paying attention. You could even, people even recommend microdosing with psychedelics. Or you can do detox cleanses. So, you know, it's your life. Get creative about it. But when you just let your life happen to you, you're the one who suffers for it, you know? It's not about making other people suffer, or right or wrong. It's about elevating or descending. And when you accept and repair these subconscious parts, it brings it all together and makes you a whole person. And you are the only thing you'll ever know. So, pay attention and then decide on some of your actions. Implement these grounding techniques that I always talk about. And say to yourself, hey, like what we were talking about, if you're afraid to do magic because you grew up in an Abrahamic faith, then realize, say to yourself, well, there's so much more out there than just this. I believe this because I was told it. And the shadow believes, collects things as it grows up with you. And it believes what we were told as children. So that's why trauma from childhood is another thing. Yeah, your parents told you to believe that and they did this to you, but it doesn't have to be you if you don't want it. But you have to examine it, and that's not fun. So the unchecked self will do absolutely anything to escape. Drinking, drugs, excessive television, food addictions, eating disorders, self-harm, hoarding, you name it. And the escapist self, will look for it, because that is what the shadow does, left unchecked. So when you babysit yourself a little bit and you make these improvements, then you decide the way that you're going to eventually feel. Because when you consciously take over and push this deep down into your feelings, it takes time, but it will work. You can drop the fear and say, hey, I'm ready to practice magic, but I don't really feel this way. I think that part of it is my beliefs from my upbringing. I'm clear and open. I don't know what I want to believe in, but I'm just going to go into this with an open mind. Okay? So observe, take some actions, and truly, shadow work is never over because we will always have a shadow. And it's good parts of ourself too. The instinct to survive when life isn't that great and you carry on. So just pay attention, implement changes, and this is just my 15 minutes of what I have to say about shadow work. If you have any questions, do some comments below, and I'll still do some Jungian videos and stuff. And as part of what I was just saying earlier, hey, I'd like to thank some inspiration from Don Talion about delving into the psyche. So, I'll see you guys in the next video.